inviting me, and I'd like to talk about the importance of the Labour Party and its supporter in the independence referendum, and also discuss some of the reasons why independence is so important for the future of Scotland. Firstly, I'd like to discuss how Labour for Independence came about. Our founder, Alan Grogan, was always fobbed off with, "If you want independence, join the SNP." That's when he tried to discuss independence with the Labour leadership. He started Labour for Independence because he wanted to find out if there was any significant support for independence among Labour members and voters. There is. But through all that, he stayed with the Labour Party. I left the Labour Party round about the time Robin Cook died. His death was the last straw. I watched with dismay as Labour moved further and further away from its socialist principles, and the UK became more and more chaotic and unequal and unjust. I knew we couldn't change Britain, especially since Labour had completely lost its way. That was just too big a job, but we could change Scotland. So I joined the SNP to work for an independent Scotland and therefore an independent Scottish Labour Party with the real hope of returning to the founding principles of Keir Hardie.
Good for you.
When I heard about Alan Grogan and Labour for Independence, I left the SNP and went back to Labour.
Understandable.
Labour is a Scottish party. It was started in Scotland, and the people of Scotland ensured that it became the powerful and hugely beneficial UK party that it was. It's time for the people of Scotland to reclaim the Labour Party and return it to its socialist roots, to its Scottish principles. We need that just as much as we need to be an independent country. To have strong, successful, socially just Scotland, we must have a real Scottish Labour Party at the heart of it. However, at present, we need Labour for Independence above all to win Labour supporters, most of whom believe that a vote for independence is a vote for the SNP, and the SNP cannot win this referendum on its own. We need each other. But if we do work together to win over Labour supporters, there is absolutely no doubt we will win the referendum. Together we cannot lose. This campaign is above all a positive campaign, full of optimism for our country's future and confidence in our ability to make the most of our considerable natural and human resources to the benefit of all our citizens. But speaking strictly for myself, my determination to see Scotland independent is not only fueled by optimism, it is also fueled by anger. Anger that the Union has failed Scotland with shockingly high levels of poverty, unemployment, ill health, and despair in a country teeming with all these natural resources. Anger that we now have the fourth most unequal society in the world, a society that rewards corrupt bankers and punishes the poor. A society who would rather spend billions on an antiquated notion of mutually assured destruction than provide free education for our young and health care for our sick and elderly. Anger that 1 in 5 children go to bed hungry, and pensioners have to choose between paying for heating and something to eat. Anger that Scotland has been abused by the Union, and anger that Scottish MPs at Westminster have colluded in that abuse. Just a few examples of things that cry out for independence to help put them right. Consider this statement. Scotland was extinguished by the Treaty of Union in 1707. This is the legal advice presented to, endorsed, and published by the UK government earlier this year. How dare they?
Yes, yes.
Scotland is a nation with its own distinctive geography, history, culture, institutions, economy, and outlook on the world. Self-government is a natural characteristic of any nation which is not the colonial possession of an imperial power. And, apart from the nationalists, Not one Scottish MP, Conservative, Lib Dem or Labour, challenged that assertion. Okay, unionists claim that under independence there will be uncertainty and they cannot see the future. Those of us who advocate independence do not claim to see the future. We aim to create the future. We all have ideas of what that might be. There are probably as many ideas as there are people envisaging Scotland's future. The various parties have much in common, but there will inevitably be differences. And the Scottish Government has promised that all parties will have a role in the negotiations for an independent Scotland. So it's important that all parties set out their vision of an independent Scotland. The Labour Party has refused to do so. Therefore, we at Labour for Independence would like to give just a few examples of what we believe are the visions of a real Labour Party. These are visions of a socially just independent Scotland. For instance, we will adhere to the founding principles of fairness, equality and justice. We will also strive to keep in place some of our greatest creations in the NHS and the welfare state. We will never remove our belief in free education and healthcare for all. We will continue to support the deeply held and ennobling Labour principle of universal benefits, not only because it ensures that they are delivered to those who need them without the humiliation of means testing, the risk of being labelled scroungers and so on, but because we believe in a society in which those who benefit most from it are taxed their fair share and so earn the right to be granted the same level of public services given to the most deprived. Also, it's much cheaper to administer. Finally, in the words of our founder and leader Alan Grogan, I'd like to say his words, which is, I believe the people of Scotland will make the right choice. The choice of hope, the choice of change, the choice of a better nation. Thank you.